hit that like button for me. And let's get to this live. Another shocking revelation. Now, Taylor Robinson grandmother revealed her theory why he's innocent. And FBI has wrong man. Charlie Kirk, alleged assassin grandmother, broke her silence about her grandson arrest, while details about her family political affiliation. Now, according to the report, the grandmother of Charlie Kirk, suspect shooter, broke silence about the 22-year-old arrest and declared that he is innocent of the charges against him. Now, Debbie Robinson, 69, of Washington, Utah, told the Daily Mail that she is skeptical that Taylor Robinson is capable of committing murder, contrasting report from an authority about Taylor becoming more political in recent years. She described her grandson as a shy young man who never discussed politics. She also confirmed it that Robinson family is conservative, with Taylor father Matt and Debbie's son being Trump supporters. Robinson, 22, is accused of fatally shooting right-wing activist Charlie Kirk on Wednesday at a Utah Valley University debate. Kirk organization Turning Point USA was hosting on campus. He is currently being held without bail at a Utah jail on several charges. Now, she says here in a statement, Taylor is a shy person. She told the Daily Mail, he has never ever spoke politics to me at all. Most of my family members are Republicans. I don't know any single one who's a Democrat. I'm just so confused. She says that her son, who law enforcement confirms turned over Taylor to authorities. She has not returned any of her calls since Taylor's identity as the suspect in Charlie assassination was revealed. The grandmother was under the impression that Taylor had no experience shooting a gun, though there is a photograph evidence of him holding a M2 Browning 50 caliber machine gun on Facebook. So, according to the report, I don't think he ever shot a gun. To tell you the truth, she told the Daily Mail. He didn't shoot a gun. He doesn't hunt. He never liked anything like that. I know he doesn't own any guns. There's just no way he could have been that good of a shot. The grandmother says she is unaware of any mental health struggles that Taylor could have and is skeptical that he is capable of violence. He's a wonderful child, she says. There is no way that he could have done anything like that. I crossed my heart and promised that there was absolute no way. He has never ever gotten in trouble in his life. He's just a very shy, good kid. There is no way he could be violent. She added, there are absolutely no way that he did that. I watched that child grow up, and I can't imagine there would ever be him. I'm not just saying that as his grandmother saying, it's just knowing him as I do. Now, according to reports, the grandmother did not express sympathy for Charlie family, though she admit she never heard of him before the fatal shoot. I never heard of him ever in my life until I started seeing all this craziness going on. Debbie says, I was sad, very sad for the wife. I read a bunch about it. Despite the picture painted by his grandmother, authorities believe that Taylor became more political in recent years. In a conversation with another family member, Robinson mentioned Charlie was coming to UVU. They talked about why they didn't like him and the viewpoints that he had. Utah Governor Specter Kopp says. Now, the grandmother is saying that her grandson is innocent and that Mr. Taylor Robinson had never shot no one. He never used a gun in his life. And I'm saying that this had to be a professional shooter. He had to be almost at the gun range almost every day. He had to be out there because, the shooting happened, during this rally. And, they said the shooter was 20, well, I say not 20, but 200 yards from the rally. So apparently, according to reports, the grandmother is coming out saying that her son, never picked up a gun. Never picked up a gun. So I want to say this is some shocking details here, man. I'm gonna roll this clip. Thank you guys for tuning in, and let's go.
To be held without bail, and the Utah County Attorney's Office says that it plans to formally charge Robinson on Tuesday. Host of the Strap Podcast, Hal Kempfer, is here to discuss. Hal, as always, good to see you. Fox News spoke with neighbors of the Robinson family. They say the suspect was quiet and kept to himself. How important are details like this, Hal? Lots of people are quiet and keep to themselves. Is there anything to surmise from something like this?
Austin, there's nothing illegal about being quiet or keeping to yourself, obviously, but it helps build a psychological profile. That's something that prosecutors are going to go there.
When too much work bogs you down, Asana helps you handle it. That's because Asana is where you
go to the court and talk about who this person was, describe his demeanor, what he was saying. By the way, they'll be juxtaposing that with his online presence. Things that he was saying in Discord, things that he was saying online, posting, chatting about, whatever, to build a profile, a psychological profile of this individual so that they can understand. Of course, the other side to this is the defense attorneys may, I'm not saying they will, but more than likely will, try to do some sort of mental illness defense, insanity defense, to say that he had some issues that made him less than fully capable of making a rational decision in this matter. It's probably about the only defense they really have to work with that I can think of. So they're going to be looking at everything around him. They'll be looking to see if he was bullied at any time in school or something like that. Whatever they can, and each side has their own reasons.
Now, the grandmother of Charlie Kirk murder suspect breaks silence on arrest and reveal why FBI have their own man. Now, according to reports, the grandmother of Charlie Kirk, alleged assassin, have claimed the FBI have their own man. Now, according to reports, it says on Wednesday, September 10th, the right wing was shot and killed while attending an event at a Utah Valley University, while the FBI launched a widespread manhunt for Charlie's killer, who they believe acted alone and fired a single bullet from a nearby rooftop of the college campus. It wasn't long until authorities announced they had their leading suspect. Now, today, September 12th, the FBI confirmed that they have detained a 22-year-old Taylor Robinson in custody, while standing accused of assassinating Charlie. The alleged suspect, heartbroken grandmother, have reportedly spoke out, claiming they have got the wrong man in a case of mistaken identity. Speaking to a Daily Mail, now, according to reports, it says Debbie Robinson described him as a quiet young man who never spoke about politics. Now, it says the 60-year-old says her son, grandson Robinson's father, is a supporter of President Donald Trump. Taylor is the shyest person, she told the outlet. He has never, ever spoke politics to me at all. Most of my family members are Republicans. I don't know any single one who's a Democrat. I'm just so confused. Now, according to report, cops confirmed Robinson was apprehended in custody following a tip-off from a family member. Now, Debbie added that she haven't heard from her son since learning about her grandson's alleged involvement in Charlie assassination. She doubled down that there is no way Robinson could be involved, adding that she believes he haven't ever handled such a weapon as the bolt action rifle that killed Charlie, let alone with such precise. I don't think he ever shot a gun. To tell you the truth, she says. He didn't hunt. He never liked anything like that. I know he doesn't own any guns. So Debbie continued, there's just no way he could have been that good of a shooter. Now, mind you, this shooter has to be a good active shooter. You talking about 200 yards from the event. Now, according to the reports, the grandmother's coming out said there's no way that he could have done anything like that. I would have crossed my heart and promised that there was absolutely no way. He had never ever gotten into trouble in his life. He just a very shy, good kid. Now, mind you, Mr. Robinson, he had no criminal priors. Never been to jail in his life. So a lot of fishy things going on. Now the grandmother's coming out saying that how in the world that they got the wrong shooter. So it says, according to a report, it continues that there is no way he could be violent. Debbie claimed there's absolutely no way that he done that. His grandmother insight comes as Robinson reportedly had expressed he opposed the view of a conservative activist previously to his family and had become more political in a run-up to the shooting, Utah Governor Spencer Cox says. Still, despite her determination that the FBI have got it wrong, Debbie did state she was very sad for Charlie's wife and the children. Robinson was arrested at around 11 p.m. local time in southern Utah on Thursday, September 11th evening from his Washington home. Officials have yet to give a possible motive. If convicted, Robinson could face the death penalty. Now, Utah has the death penalty. The state of Utah is carrying the death penalty, man. And for a reason that this is coming out that according to reports, the grandmother says that Mr. Taylor Robinson was a good man. He wasn't into politics. And she claiming that the FBI have the wrong shooter. So it says FBI detail chilling Discord message of Charlie murder suspect sent to roommate after attack. So it says Charlie Kirk was killed at an open air debate in Utah on Wednesday, according to reports. It said FBI have detailed chilling messages the suspect arrested for the murder of Charlie sent to his roommate after the attack in Utah early this week. So many people think and they believe that that this was already planned before, he started his route in Utah. Many people is saying that this was planned. So according to report, it says right-wing activist Charlie was killed while speaking at an event organized by his company, Turning Point USA, on Wednesday, September 10th at a Utah Valley University. Identifying the shooter after the suspect was seen on a rooftop of a building on a college campus. Now let's go.
Why they want to build this. The prosecution wants to show how this person would fit the profile of a lone wolf killer. And of course, the defense is simply trying to minimize or mitigate what's going to come his way, especially since you have very senior, prominent politicians, I should say, the governor and the president both talking about the death penalty. Well, that's something that they're going to try and work with. And I have to tell you, for the family, that's got to be really tough, because it was a family friend that apparently initially reached out to law enforcement, and then the family turned him in. But you can imagine they didn't do it with the thought that he's going to get the death penalty. I think they were probably hoping that something else would actually transpire.
Let's talk about FBI Director Kash Patel. This was him at the press conference yesterday. According to Fox News Digital, Patel demanded that the video footage of the suspect be released to the public, despite people around him recommending that he not release the video. If that's true, Hal, why might people have recommended the video not be released? A law enforcement source did tell Fox News Digital, by the way, that Robinson's father did recognize his son in the video, so it did seem like it worked.
It did seem like it worked. Actually, that public release of the video actually helped break the case, if you will. That's what led to him being apprehended within 2 days. However, as an investigative methodology, a lot of times.
Okay, I need you guys to hit 1 if you guys think that this wasn't the suspect. I need you guys to hit 1 and explain why they got the wrong suspect. Now, according to this report, the grandmother is furious. And during a press conference on Friday, September 12th, the FBI confirmed they have detained a suspect identified as a 22-year-old Taylor Robinson. Utah Governor Spencer Cox began by telling audience, "We got him," before later going on to detail chilling messages sent from the suspect to a roommate on the messaging service Discord. So some people said there was a different guy with different shorts. The grandmother says that he was never involved. She never knew him she knew him as a shy person. He was never involved in this alleged shooting. This is what the grandmother's saying. Now, according to report, it says Cox says investigators spoke with Robinson's roommate, who showed them the message before him in an account with the name Taylor. So it says the message of Taylor stated they need to gather a rifle from a drop-off point before leaving it in a bush and wrapping it in a towel before leaving the scene. The governors went on to say other messages mentioning the rifle being, according to report, as well as discussion about engraving bullets and a scope. Cox also confirmed Taylor spoke about having to change his outfit in a Discord message. Elsewhere, in a press conference, Cox detailed what leads to Robinson's arrest, stating our officials received a tip which was from a family member of Robinson's who had reached out to a family friend and then contact the Washington County Sheriff Office. The government explained that Robinson have confessed it to them or implied that he have committed the incident. A family member of Robinson was also interviewed by the investigators, who claimed that the suspect had become more political in recent years. They recall one particular incident which took place before the September 10th shooting, when Robinson had joined the family members for dinner and engaged in a conversation in which Robinson mentioned Charlie was due to come to Utah Valley University. So they know that this was planned, that Charlie was going, do a meeting on a Utah University. They said Charlie knew that if he was to go to Utah, that he will possibility that he would get killed. They said that Charlie Kirk knew. So it says, let's go on. According to reports, they talked about it, why he didn't like him, and the viewpoints that he had, Cox says. Spencer expressed his thanks to law enforcement, the FBI, and members of the public for helping with the investigation and praised Robinson families for having done the right thing. If you or someone who knows have been affected by gun violence, please find more information and support. So it says here now, magazines forced to speak out at the pain they contribute. So it says, according to report, the magazine article was published at an unfortunate time. A magazine had been forced to issue a comment after it published an article that claimed to have put a curse on Charlie Kirk. Charlie assassination while he was speaking at a Utah Valley University on September 10th came as a massive shock to the world. The 31-year-old conservative commentators and the Turning Point founder was shot as he debated a crowd at the university. The U.S. government, Donald Trump, confirmed Charlie death, writing on Truth Social, the great and even legendary Charlie is dead. No one understood or had the heart of the youth and United States of America better than Charlie. Now let's go. This is a sad moment.
You want to hold on to that. You know, once you release it publicly, not only does the public know what he looks like, but the suspect themselves, the perpetrator, knows what you're looking at. They know what you're seeing, and they could start employing a variety of disguises. And by the way, if there were co-conspirators, they know that he's been seen, so they could employ a variety of means to try and disguise him. In some cases, they may try to get rid of him, so to speak. And so there's a lot of reasons why you may not want to release that information. You want to keep that a card close to your vest and use every other investigative means to try and identify who this individual is. By the way, with these pictures and some of the current facial recognition technology, you could run this through a variety of different databases.
Stop buying generic Viagra if you're over 60. You qualify for 9 tablets of 100 milligram generic Viagra for just $7 with free shipping from Friday plans.
College databases, schools, DMV, driver's license, a whole bunch of different things where you could actually look for somebody who fits this and then try to winnow it down to who it would be. And that's probably what the investigators would think about. It's like, let's work this through our various different databases without releasing it to the public. Although, on the other side, Kash Patel was under a little bit of pressure. You remember, he kind of misspoke at the beginning when they said they had somebody in custody, kind of indicating to the public that they had got the guy who did it. Turns out that wasn't the guy who did it. He was just a person of interest who was somewhat suspicious. Turns out it had nothing to do with the assassination. But it was widely criticized. There was a lot of, certainly within federal law enforcement circles and other law enforcement circles, there was a little bit of criticism that was the terminology that he used. He's not an investigator. He's not an FBI special agent by background. He's a former U.S. attorney, but he probably wanted to do something to wrap this up as quickly as possible. And so he took the risk of releasing it public, knowing that the suspect might see it, knowing that the suspect might use that as something that they could baseline to try and look differently than what that picture looks like, but also knowing that someone around that suspect or around that individual might recognize them and call in a tip or turn them in, which is exactly what happened. So actually, at the end of the day, despite the criticism, it turns out Kash Patel's approach worked.
So, this 22-year-old suspect, police say that he was identified and reported to authorities, as you and I have alluded to, with the help of his own family. It's hard to put yourself in the shoes of the family here. What's your reaction to them turning in one of their own, turning in their own blood?
Gut-wrenching is the only way to describe it. That is, in many ways, the sum of all fears. Maybe not the very worst thing, but very close to the very worst thing. And certainly for the family, they do not want to send their son, regardless of what he's done, to certain death. And when the governor's talking about the death penalty, and the president's kind of alluding to that, and others are alluding to the fact they have the death penalty in Utah. That really it's got to be a painful, gut-wrenching decision for the family. And I do recall Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber. Remember, was hiding in that little cabin in the woods in Montana. Well, his brother was instrumental in turning him in. He recognized when that manifesto was released, he recognized the style, the tone of the writing, things that he'd heard his brother said. His brother actually was, had.
Right. Facts. I'm reading y'all comments. Facts. The grandmother, when you older, you can just process things different. So I can agree with the comment section. The grandma was delusional. Father turned him in, and I'm just looking at the reports here, man. The grandma was just shocked. Even the FBI know. Now here's my question. Couldn't they have prevented, if they knew that Charlie was going to go to Utah for this rally, and they knew that he would have been assassinated on that day, the moment he stepped in Utah, couldn't they have prevent, this from happening? This is why I always say, this is why a lot of people saying that this was an inside job. This was a sacrifice, y'all. This was a government cover. This was an FBI plot, y'all. Because FBI, I don't think that they was so worried of doing a investigation. They let it go too long. I feel like, once, 24 hours pass and we come into the 30, 3 hours, that's that 33 number you guys don't want to say, that's a special number. That's a Masonry number. And it's just, I find it strange, because the family turned him in, and the grandmother didn't even know what was going on, and they said that he wasn't into politics. To come to find out, he was into politics. This is a sad story. Such a sad story. Now, let's go.
Had significant mental illness, and he turned him in, but he turned him in with the admonition that he not be charged with the death penalty, and that became a point of contention. Because of the nature of the case, there was a lot of discussion about the death penalty on that, and it went back and forth for a very long period of time. And so in this situation, there may have been some sort of, and it hasn't been announced, I don't know, it's purely speculation, but there may have been something said to law enforcement that said, look, we'll turn him, we'll get him to turn himself in, or we'll turn him in, or whatever, but please do not charge him with the death penalty. But then at the end of the day, the investigators involved probably, they don't have the final say on how this person is going to be charged. But that would be something to think about. Now, you have to think about the long term as well. If you want friends and family in the future to turn in perpetrators, suspects in situations like this, whether it's assassination, terrorism, or some other horrendous act, if you want them to actively work with law enforcement to get the person off the streets, to get the suspect off the streets, if they turn around and charge him or turn around and actually convict him with the death penalty and carry that out, you have to look at the long-term repercussions. Are you going to dissuade family members and friends in the future from cooperating with law enforcement in investigations of this type? That's something that they're going to have to weigh very carefully going forward.
We're looking at live pictures of the memorial that's growing outside of Turning Point's headquarters in the Phoenix metro. We started seeing this getting built last night. At least that was the first time I saw it on our feeds, and now it looks like Fox 10 in Phoenix has a camera out there, as you can still see crowds gathering outside and this memorial growing by the hour. Hal, I'm still getting questions from viewers about how this all took place on Wednesday. I've already played this video. This is the video that we all watched while the manhunt was underway. This is the suspect as he was making his getaway, jumping down from the roof. I'm getting questions from viewers about...
We have got to the point where literally anybody can build a fully working app without knowing how to code. This is base 44. This is a first look at the
actual shot that he took from the roof. How difficult a shot was this? Let's put something to bed. Did this guy have to be a sharpshooter to do what he did?
Absolutely not. It's 200 yards or less than 200 yards. It's not that difficult shot. If you've gone out there and shooting, in fact, I would say most serious hunters would say, yeah, I could make a shot like that without any difficulty. That is not a difficult shot. I've heard some speculation saying, oh, he must have had some specialized training or something like that.
I'm gonna say that if you 200 yards from the rally, that has to be a difficult shot. One shot that killed Charlie, that has to be a person that's well trained, man. A person that's trained, a person that hunts, a person that goes out and trains. That was a professional shooter. One shot with a rifle killed, Charlie. He was professionally trained. That was a professional shooter, man. It wasn't like he was firing multiple shots. That was just one shot. Let's go.
First off, he has, as far as I know, he's got no connection with the military at all. He's got no serious connection. There was some talk that his father had been law enforcement, but I've heard that was just, somebody said that, but there was nothing to it. But he could have gone out there, he could have done a lot of stuff, and we see this with a lot of these lone wolves, that they will do a lot of their training, so to speak, online. That they will do online gaming and use various different ways to train. And we've seen that with others. We've seen it with those inspired by Al-Qaeda or ISIS, that they will use online gaming, like Call of Duty or something like that, to as they think, hone their skills as I don't know, combatants or whatever you want to say. But in this case,
yeah, I know he was a hunter. You know what I mean? He had to be a hunter. Whether he was a hunter idol, but he was a hunter. You know what I mean? He was a person that's out in the field, man. You don't just get your target on one try, man. He has to be out the field. You know what I mean? He had to be at the field doing his, doing his target practice, man. Cause that look, man. I don't care what people be saying, man. That was a professional shooter, man. You know what I mean? And how all this was planned. They said if Charlie would have went to Utah, he was, he was going to be assassinated. The FBI know, man. See, here's the thing. The FBI knew, man. This is why this was a whole government, cover up, man. Because the FBI knew, and since they knew, why haven't they closed in on the shooter? Since they knew that Charlie, if he would have went to Utah, he would have been assassinated. They knew this. This is a sad story, man. This is a sad story that I had to bring this story up to you guys again. This is a shocking revelation story, man. Let's go. Well, I don't know. I don't really know where he get the gun, you know what I mean, or where was he going, you know what I mean, for this training. Evidently, he might have got the gun from his families. You know what I mean? Come to find out, his families was, you know what I mean, Republican. So, you know, I think this could have been some way that this could have been like orchestrated. I think, you know what I mean, I think that this was really planned, you know. Maybe one of his families, you know what I mean? Is it one of his families, you know what I mean, purchased the gun, or maybe he went and purchased this rifle? Who knows, man? It did show that the only time that Taylor Robinson was holding a gun was a I believe was an M2 50 caliber, you know. So yeah, say this, make a long story short, yes, he had access to getting a rifle. But you could tell that this was, you know what I mean, a professional shooter, you know.
You know, if he just went out there and just practiced shooting, he could probably get to a point where he could hit a target 200 yards away. And you know, it was interesting. Somebody mentioned to me that it was a neck shot. Well, I don't know of anybody who goes for a neck shot at 200 yards. It probably, more than likely, particularly because he's a lone wolf and he's not no background. You know, generally you'd aim for what we call center mass, which is you go for the center of the torso because you're more likely to hit them there. But you'll find some people want to go, would-be assassins try to go for a headshot. The would-be assassin in Pennsylvania tried to shoot President Trump, or at that time candidate Trump, with a headshot. He wounded him, but he fortunately, President Trump turned his head and it nicked his ear as opposed to what it could have been. So they like to go for a headshot. In this case, it looks like it could have been a headshot, in which case it is possible. And I haven't heard the full details, but they've been kind of alluding to he may have had a scope on the weapon. Again, I've not heard that confirmed, but it's been kind of discussed that he may have had a scope on the weapon. If he did that, or even if he just had iron sights, it could have been zeroed to 100 yards. That would be a very common thing for somebody not that familiar with shooting to do. He may not have adjusted for the elevation, in which case he could have been aiming for the center, could have been aiming for his head, and a slight declination, and that's why it hit his neck. I'm sorry I'm getting into the details here, and for anybody out there, I know this is kind of gruesome when you consider what happened, but I'm just bringing this up that those are indications to me that he was not a sharpshooter per se. This is somebody who just had probably gone out and practiced shooting that particular rifle.
You know, it does. It gives insight because
I want to say this, man. This had to be a sharpshooter, man. To go out, you know what I mean? First of all, this had to be planned. First of all, you have to be, you know what I mean, shooting for a very long time. You know what I mean? You just don't shoot a rifle and don't hit the target, man. I mean, this was a professional shooter, man. One shot. You talking about from 200 yards from the event. This has to be a person that's using a rifle, I'll say 7 days out the week, man. You know? They saying that he was in a professional shooter, but I'm saying this to you, that one shot killed Charlie. One shot. Let's go. The fact of the matter, I don't have to know nothing about guns, but this was a person that was hunting. This was a person probably went to Idaho and did a lot of shooting. You just don't purchase a rifle and you don't use a rifle. I don't care, man. If you buy a rifle from a gun store and you just let it sit up in your room without using it, how you just gonna just all of a sudden now take your rifle and go to an event where all of a sudden you 200 yards from the event and you use your rifle. This has had to be a person that know what he was doing, man. That's all I'm saying. This got to be a person that know what he was doing, man. You know what I mean? Nobody know how long, you know what I mean, he was training, man. It got to a point that how would the FBI know if Charlie was to go to this event that he would have been assassinated? Nobody knows how long the shooter was training. Nobody know how long. Yeah, I know hunters practice, but you know, here's the thing, man. Y'all all remember that Washington D.C. sniper, man. You remember that D.C. sniper when he went into D.C. and Virginia and killed all those people? I mean, he left a letter behind. I mean, he made phone calls, and he was just going through D.C., Virginia. You know what I mean? Killing folks. You know, a professional shooter hits the target. A professional shooter. Come on.
You know, lots of people, they don't track stuff like this, and it does. It gives us some insight. And you and I were talking on the phone before we got on the show here. We were talking about law enforcement patrolling the streets. That's what we see law enforcement patrol most of the time. But you said something to me that stuck with me. You said, do they patrol online sites enough? Speak to that. And what are your concerns around sites like Discord, for example?
You know, this is not the first time that we've seen a lone wolf would-be assassin that was spending a lot of time in either in very specialized chat rooms or gaming applications or specialized areas where you see people who want to avoid public scrutiny, if you will. That's where they go out. That's where they foment their ideas. That's where they meet like-minded individuals. That's where they communicate, they chat, they share information, and in many cases we've seen where they kind of ramp each other up, if you will, building up their what some would call radicalization, if you will, but building up their nerve to go out and actually do something, not in the virtual world but in the real world. We've seen that before, and the question comes: okay, so how do we police that huge part of basically society? The part of society that's not on the streets, it's not a physical presence, it's all online. Yes, does the FBI look at this? You bet. They look at it, but they are limited in the amount of personnel and who they have that can do this. And by the way, if you take somebody who is motivated to be an 1811 special agent investigator, and they want to go do things like they've seen in the movies and read books and all that stuff, and they say, here, sit down, I want you just to look at the internet, I want you to look at these chat rooms and do this stuff, you've probably put a round peg in a square hole, or vice versa. It just doesn't seem to be a great fit. So one of the challenges is they're going to have to be recruiting more people who are, you know, by temperament, talent, convictions, a little bit more suited for patrolling this particular terrain, if you will, virtual terrain, as opposed to traditional standard enforcement, law enforcement activities that you see on the streets or elsewhere, and that's been a big challenge.
Hey, I got her a little something. A little something, Dad?
Hi. Walt rolled his 401k accounts into an Empower IRA and planned for times like this.
Within not just federal law enforcement, but all law enforcement. By the way, local law enforcement, even large PDs. I mean, I give nothing a salute to NYPD for what they've been doing, looking at things online, and other large police departments for what they do. But even they will turn around and say, hey, look, the internet is not in our jurisdiction. Our jurisdiction has boundaries. We don't look everywhere. I mean, we'll look, but we don't look everywhere. So in many cases, just due to lack of manpower or other resources, they have to limit what they can look at. And then, of course, there's the legal parameters. I mean, there are privacy rights and other things they have to consider. And so there are legal parameters to what they can and can't do. But we're going to have to figure out a better way to do this because, you know, that's where they're acting out. That's where we get the indications and warning more often than not that something like this is going to happen. And we've got to come up with a better comprehensive strategy for how we address it.
So, Hal, I'm going to go over some breaking news that I'm getting from Fox News Digital. I'm getting this in right now, so I'm going to read you verbatim what they're reporting. They say they have an exclusive. They say the alleged assassin lived with his transgender partner. That's according to senior-level FBI officials speaking with Fox News Digital. The Bureau officials confirmed that Tyler Robinson was in a, quote, romantic relationship with the unnamed person who is a male transitioning to a female and that they shared an apartment in St. George, Utah. Those FBI officials told Fox News Digital that
Now, according to the report, it says the official revealed 6 messages a Charlie suspect killer wrote on a rifle casing. Now, it says the gunman who is suspected of assassinating Charlie Kirk left chilling messages on his bullet casing, the FBI revealed. In a press conference, our official announced that they have the suspect, Taylor Robinson, in custody. Now, according to reports, it says the FBI had thanked the family of Taylor Robinson for a tip of bringing Taylor Robinson in. So now, bear with me because Charlie alleged shooter roommate turned incriminating text that leads to his arrest. It says the roommate of Charlie alleged murderer is reporting cooperating with the federal law enforcement officials in the investigation, providing incriminating text messages that helped lead to the 22-year-old arrest. It says police arrest Taylor Robinson on Friday on suspicion of capital murder in connection with the shooting death of Charlie on Wednesday, while the 31-year-old was holding a Turning Point USA events at Utah Valley University. The Daily Mail report that Robinson roommate showed FBI official text message from Robinson that reportedly talks about getting a gun and the use to shoot Charlie. So according to report, Lance, a good roommate of Robinson, told FBI officials that text message from Robinson that repeatedly talks about using a gun to kill Charlie. So it says Lance identified was revealed in multiple reports from Fox News and the New York Post, claiming that Robinson was living with a transgender partner. However, Lance gender identified on the nature of their relationship has not been officially reported, but according to reports, it says the law enforcement agencies with regard to the investigation or motive for the shooting. So yet they don't even have a motive for the shooting now. But according to reports, it says Lance identity was revealed in multiple reports for Fox and New York Post. So it says Lance have not been named in any official out for data an investigation. The Daily Mail reported spoke with Lance's grandfather, Jerry, who declined to comment on his grandson's role in the investigation or Robinson's potential motive for the shooting, but did confirm that he was cooperating with police. I don't want to comment on that. I'm not sure what his situation is exactly right now, Jerry told the outlet, adding that he had never met Robinson after he was with the police. He'd been at his house, and there's no way for us to contact him other than going over there. It says authorities have not released any potential motive for the shooting, but speculation on social media have been rampant over the last several days. Now, according to reports, since Robinson's arrest on Friday, authorities have been digging more into the 22-year-old Utah native background to try and uncover a potential motive for the shooting. The Associated Press report that authorities spoke with Robinson family members and told them Robinson had recently become more political and saw, according to report, President Trump as a person spreading hate, according to a probable cause statement. So it says Robinson is registered to vote, but is not affiliated with a political party, according to Utah State records. He was also listed as an active, meaning he had not voted in at least the last two general elections. His parents are both registered as Republicans. Utah Governor Spencer Cox says family members told authority that Robinson had become more political in recent years. Cox described a recent family dinner in which Robinson mentioned Charlie planned appearance. They talked about why they didn't like him and the viewpoints that he had. Spencer Cox says, referring to Robinson and an unnamed family member. The family member also stated that Charlie was full of hate and spreading hate. Robinson currently in custody on suspicion of aggravated murder, felony discharge of a firearm, causing serious bodily harms, and obstruction of justice, all felonies according to a probable cause statement filed in court and released Friday. A judge ordered that he be held without bail. Now let's go.
Robinson's partner is fully cooperating with the FBI's investigation. Do you take anything away from that?
Well, it certainly explains some of.
I'm not changing nothing. Quit talking about this battery alarm. I'm not changing nothing. All right?
What was written on his ammunition. As you know, he did markings on his ammunition and did some markings on the weapons and other things that they found. So this will help build a psychological profile. One thing I do take away from that is it will not be missed. That is probably going to become a big part of the political discourse about this shooting. And, we've already heard President Trump on Fox and Friends talk about radical left-wing extremism and the danger it poses. And certainly this does kind of fit into that kind of narrative. And so I imagine, there was a lot of discussion in the last couple of days that
Build a website you love with Wix. For your words?
we need to cool down some of the rhetoric. We need to, basically be careful about what we're saying. That there needs to be more control in our bipartisan speech across the country. However, I would say something like this does tend to fit a certain narrative, if you will, and I imagine it could actually heat things up. And as you know, there's already a lot of protests around the country, completely separate to this, which are anti-immigration protests, which tend to have a very partisan feel to them, or at least a partisan appearance to them, if you will. And I have a feeling that this is just going to add some fuel to the fire in terms of what we're seeing.
Of course, we are so early in this investigation. This is just one report, and we still have a lot to learn about what exactly has transpired here. Hal's going to stick around with me. We have a few more things that we're going to discuss throughout the afternoon, including the latest on the Russia-Ukraine war and the latest on the Gaza war as well. While we're here, and while we've got this report in front of us from Fox News, I'm just going to read a little bit more from Fox News Digital. They say the FBI official told Fox News Digital that the individual has been extremely cooperative and said that the person, quote, had no idea Robinson was allegedly planning to assassinate Turning Point USA founder. The person is not currently accused of any criminal activity in connection with the assassination. Again, this is exclusive reporting from Fox News Digital. These are preliminary details coming from the preliminary results of what is very early on in a lengthy and complex investigation. We always have to add that onto things like this. But that's the exclusive coming from Fox News just moments ago, as we continue to take a live look at this growing memorial for Charlie Kirk outside of Turning Point's headquarters in Arizona.
Joining me here now is Brennan. He's one of the people who was here when all this happened. Now, Brennan is not a student here. He came all the way from Clearfield just to be a part of this and to see this. And Brennan, you were telling me you were right there when this happened.
Yeah, so I mean, it was pretty packed when I got here. It took me about 30 minutes just to find parking. When I finally got there were thousands of people, I would say. He was kind of like in a pit almost, and we were kind of gathered up like some stairs. I kind of moved my way closer. I was about 15 feet away. He was actually just talking about mass shootings too, which is crazy, with the trans shooting that just happened recently with the trans shooter. And as soon as he got done answering the question, we heard a loud pop. He got hit in the left side of his neck and dropped. We all dropped. His security dragged him out of there, and we just ran. So, it's crazy.
I can't imagine. It's probably terrifying. You're there just to hear the debate, to be a part of this. You hear the shot. You said you hit the ground.
Yeah, obviously, because at first we didn't know what it was. You know what I mean? Once we figured it out, I was more angry, I would say, than terrified. We hear all the time that we're the problem, we're the violent ones, we're the issue, and yet this is the second mass shooting attempt on a political figure. First Donald Trump, now we have Charlie Kirk, but yet we're the problem. I don't know of any mass shootings that happened with Joe Biden. I don't know any of Obama. I don't know of any of the Democratic side. And I'm not trying to be that guy, but we got to come together. This is ridiculous. Whether you believe what he says or not, we got to stop all this nonsense.
Right, and
Look, this nation has been divided for centuries, y'all. If we have been divided so long, what makes you think they can fix the problem? They can fix history when they're trying to, take out slavery. I mean, this thing have gone to a bursting point, man. There haven't been no solution. And I think that we are at a, position where, it's like all hell's going to break out at some point. All hell will break out at some point, man. Because there have been no solution to fixing the problems. Killings have been more common. These killings here in the United States is more common. It's happening more often. And you see it don't have no end. It's not an end to it.
And it's one of those things too, you know, no matter what side you're on, we should be able to have debate openly without the violence, no matter what side you're on. It's very charged, it's very political right now.
Exactly.
But I like what you said, we should come together. This needs to stop, no matter what side.
Right. Yeah, and I completely agree with that. You know, everything going on in the world, everything's so hostile now when it comes to political parties. We got to stop all of this. You know, like I said, they blame us, we blame them. We got to stop and just come together. We got to stop having a political agenda and get them to turn us against each other like they are. And it's just what they want, and we got to stop. And because I wear the stuff I wear, people look at me like a bad person, but I think I'm a good person. I don't care what you believe. As long as you're a good person, that's all I care about.
Brendan, thank you so much for your
Of
time.
course.
Sorry, because it's chilling when you see the videos. It's chilling. Sorry you saw this, but I know you're probably heading out, trying to figure out. You've been chatting with your friends, so
Yeah.
it's just one of those things. Just figuring out what next, Brendan.
Absolutely. We'll be all right.
Thank you for your time, man.
Grand Canyon University offered nearly $161 million in institutional scholarships to online students in 2024. In addition,
really appreciate you. But here is Kim, her daughter Bentley, and Wes. They were just here for the debate themselves. Not students here. You said you used to be a student here, but you didn't hear the shots, you said, Kim, but all of a sudden you saw people running. That had to be terrifying.
Yes. We were heading to the event, and all of a sudden, there were just a group of people just running down the hallway, and they're like, shots have been fired, there's gunshots, run. So I grabbed my daughter, and we just booked it out of there. It was scary because you don't know if it's real, if it's not, but you just have to go with your...
I'm gonna say it like this, fam. Whether Charlie Kirk was speaking truth or not, people was against his teachings, man. You know, and before he planned to go to Utah, you know what I mean, there was death written. And you know how sick this world is? How sick people coming out with these shirts of Charlie, man. These assassination shirts, man. It's very inappropriate, like, man. Let's show you that we live in a sick society world, man, where people don't care about someone being assassinated. It shows you. It shows you how sick people are. The moment Charlie gets assassinated, people got these shirts. People coming out with these shirts, man. It shows you how we stand so divided in hate, man. And here we are. Killings is happening more frequently, man. And I say, here we are, man. One problem after another.
gut and get out of there. But it was scary. The adrenaline shot up through my body, and I had chills, and just, we were freaking out.
And you know, we always hear about this. This always happens somewhere else. But when it's happening right where you are, all of a sudden it's as real as it gets. And you freeze. What do you do?
I didn't really understand what was going on, and we just heard gun, and I was like, what's going on? So I tried to alert other people. My mom was like, Bentley, run. So we just ran and found the nearest door to exit out, and it was just terrifying. You get chills, and you kind of freeze, but you're like, I have to save my life and everything. So that's just, it was scary, and it didn't feel real. So
Mom, as her mom, we're hearing from a lot of parents who have students here, their kids go to school here, terrified. You were with your daughter seeing this. It's not only yourself now, but you're thinking of your daughter.
Yeah, very scary. I just wanted to get us out of there. And there was people that were just kind of standing around, looking around, and I'm like, grab one of the girls. I'm like, you need to run, get out, because people kind of didn't know what was going on. And, I'm like, leave your food, run. And I don't know, it was scary. I wanted to get everyone out.
I don't blame you. Let me chat with Wes real quick, too. Where were you when this happened, Wes?
So I was in a room fairly close to where it happened, and then some people just ran in and yelled active shooter, so we all just got out.
You hear those words, active shooter, they become normal words almost in America anymore, but still, it's terrifying.
Yeah, I mean, really none of us believed it at first.
And that's what I'm saying, bro. Like, if it don't happen, if these kind of shootings don't happen in Utah, did we already know that this was planned? If Charlie knew that he was gonna go to Utah and he gonna get his life where they were going to try him, why would he make that trip to Utah? If Charlie knew that he would have been assassinated, what was the purpose of him going to Utah? Wow, I know his last words was gang violence. You know what I mean? I guess gun violence he was mentioning. You know, they've been talking about, you know what I mean, the gun violence for a long time. In Tennessee, we had two we had two black lawmakers which was expelled. This to speak on gun control, you know what I mean, gun violence, and you know what I mean, and how our Second Amendment rights, you know what I mean, just been violated. You know that when it comes to gun violence, you know that these guns were sitting, these gun, you know what I mean, was, in other words, the Second Amendment rights were sitting in the Senate office, which I find it that it's odd to have them let these, you know what I mean, you know what I mean, the Second Amendment rights be sitting in the Senate. Why, you know what I mean, we sitting here saying what's going on? Why are we seeing crime at an ultimate high? From hate crimes and these heinous crimes, these massive shootings, these massacre shootings, school shootings, church, you know what I mean, shootings. You know what I mean? It's happening more often. These shootings we see here in the United States is happening like almost everywhere. And you see it's getting out of hand. Right before the two black lawmakers stepped in Tennessee after they being expelled. Now, the Amendment rights were sitting in the Senate for 2 years. You mean to tell me that they couldn't put a stop to it? Oh yeah, he was taken out by one of his own. This was a government plot, man. You see that 33. That's a Masonry. That 33 where they took these, you know what I mean, FBI, you know what I mean, the whole, you know what I mean, private investigators. It took them. I mean, they went on a manhunt for 33 hours, y'all. That 33 shows their Masonry, man. It shows the Masonry, you know what I mean? I mean, that 33 is a special number, man. You know what I mean? How they paid their homage, man. And this man was sacrificed, man. Because I'm gonna tell y'all, man, when it comes to these elites, you know what I mean? When it comes to their gender, and the last thing he gets killed is talking about, you know what I mean, gun violence. And that's, you know what I mean, that's something where we have trouble, you know what I mean, when it comes to gun violence. Because the gun violence here in America becomes a political issue where it don't get solved by both of these parties, Democrats, Republicans. So Charlie was assassinated, you know what I mean, with the last words, gun violence, stop gun violence. I don't think that we had any political leader had ever addressed these political issues when it comes to political assassinations, when it comes to police shootings, when it comes to black on black crimes, white on white crimes. I don't think we was able to find and reach a solution how to put an end to gun violence in America. When we see America manufacturing killings. Yeah, I know. I was looking at the clips. I was looking at a clip that it shows supposedly there was another suspect in shorts. Now, mind you, the grandmother came out saying that, well, they got the wrong suspect. I mean, we're hearing all kind of things, y'all. You know, let's go.
Then we still just got out and saw the hordes of people running. So
Now just coming around chatting with people, that's kind of what you do now, because you're sharing a terrible experience with others. It's how you, I don't know, decompress and deal with it, man.
I really don't know. I mean, talking here seems to help with people who experience it in the parking lot as well. Yeah.
I'm sorry you went through this, Wes. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. And, ma'am, I'm so...
Want your loved ones to know when you're on your way? Turn on Share My Trip in the Uber app, and we'll keep them updated on your live trip location. That's safety simplified. Uber. Connect with a financial advisor at Thrivent.com, where money means more.
Sorry, where were you when this happened? I heard you chatting with Kim and Bentley. You were pretty close.
I was really close. Watching the whole thing, I was probably on the second level up from, well, I've never been to this place except for a classic car show, so I can't really explain to you, but I was to the left of Charlie. Super clear view. Saw everything happen, heard the gunshot. I was the last one standing because I couldn't quite believe. I thought maybe it was a stunt. And then everybody fell to the ground. We all fell to the ground. I got pushed into some bushes. I stayed there. There was a lady with her elderly mom, and I said, "Is she okay?" And she said she's okay. So we just kind of stayed in the bushes for a few minutes, maybe a minute and a half. And then a man said, go this way. And we went right where Charlie had come in and out. And I was right behind the police when they had the man in the handcuffs. And I was standing right there next to them as he was on his knees. And he said, I would say multiple times, but at least twice, just shoot me. Just shoot me. And I videoed it, and I called him every name in the book that I could think of, which is probably not appropriate, but I was shaken, ball, and mess. I'm still shaking, and I'm still crying. I love Charlie Kirk. He's awesome. And I prayed for him and his family. And I pray for everybody that was here to witness this. It's awful, and I don't understand why we can't have something like this that is truly innocent. You know, there were the non-believers, the ones that didn't like him, and that's fine. But to shoot him, he doesn't deserve this.
That's the part I keep hearing from a lot of people too. It's like, look, no matter what side you're on, this shouldn't happen.
Never, never, ever, never. And I will always help anyone. I don't care if they're a Democrat, Republican, conservative, it does not matter. And I asked a girl, hey, can you tell me what building this is? And she looked at my hat and she said, not with that fat hat. No way. And I was like, okay, well, that was rude, but whatever, to each their own. But it's sad. It's really sad, the America that we have today.
I don't know. People keep saying, how do we fix this? And you keep thinking, is this tragedy going to be the spark that gets...
But people are saying how we fix this. You don't fix it, because this is a divided nation. We don't fix this problem. We can't fix this problem, man. every year that goes by, there's killings in police killings, black on black killings, white crimes, black crimes, police crimes. How do we solve it?
Us back together because something is wrong and we need to come together. But how?
I wish I had that answer. Oh gosh, that's the multi-billion-dollar question, isn't it? I wish I knew. Prayer, pray, stand up for your beliefs. Don't back down. Don't listen to the propaganda. Do your own research. Don't take one person's opinion as fact. Look into things for your own. I don't know.
You're still shaking.
I am.
I'm shaking just talking to you. But one thing that hit me when you were talking is you saw Charlie get shot.
Yes.
And then you were waiting because I think you don't know where it came from. You don't know how many people there are. You don't know what's going on. That's terrifying.
Right, and like I said, I wasn't sure because he was literally talking about how many mass shootings from trans people. That's literally what they were talking about when it happened. And when I saw him get shot, I like I said, I was probably the only one standing still for a minute because I was like, what the heck?
Look, you guys, anytime they don't do nothing with our Second Amendment, gun control, they let the violence get out of hand, man. And this is why we have GOB Republicans expelling these, you know what I mean, these lawmakers, man. Now you gotta say, man, what is our world coming to, man? If 2 black lawmakers was expelled at Tennessee. See, we live in a racist, divided nation, man. And you know what I mean? Their gender, man, I'm telling you, what their gender is just not good. Whatever their gender is not good.
Just happened. I thought maybe it wasn't real, and unfortunately, it's real.
Now you're leaving. You're trying to get out of here, but you're talking with people you probably never met before because that's how you cope. This was a tragedy, and you were there.
Right.
You talked about it.
Right, and this lovely lady here, I just said pray. As I didn't realize that you guys were the news. I just said pray for Charlie, and she said, "Are you okay?" I don't know her, and she gave me a hug, and and I thanked her again for the hug because that's how we need to be. We need to be more loving and kind to our people. All of us. It doesn't matter the color of your skin or your political background. It doesn't matter. We're human beings. We're Americans, and we should stand tall for each other.
Thank you for your time. I'm
Thank
so
you.
sorry that you witnessed this and went through this, and I know the adrenaline.
And that's something I heard. You know what I mean? That's what we have to do, man. This woman said we as American people, we gotta stand up, man. We gotta love how to unite. We gotta love how to have unity, man. Peace, love, man. Our world is getting so bad when we are divided, man. It's getting so bad, man. With the senseless killings, man. You see police brutality, white crimes, black and black killings. We live in a nation where we divided, man. With hate, man, discord, envy, greed, selfish. Well, You know what I mean? Yeah, man, because because the assassination of Charlie, man, this with his speech and things like that, man. We are being targeted, man. After the assassination happened to Charlie, black people is being targeted, man. See, there's no unity, man. It's like we are a separate people, man. We're living in division. We're living among hate.
Well, is wearing down now, and that's where it really hits. But thank you for your time and sharing some of that.
You're welcome.
I appreciate
My
your
name's
time.
Elisa.
Elisa, I'm
Yeah.
Alex. Thank you for your time.
Nice to meet
Thank you
you.
so much. You said you want to Sorry.
That's
Okay.
okay. Thank you.
So, Elisa, Kim, Bentley, West, just some of the people here who witnessed this, who were a part of this, just coming here to be a part of the.
With Premium Light, people can watch me doing this ad-free.
Well, what are you doing? Debate. I'm going to interview somebody named Taylor Westmoreland, and she's special to me because this is actually my niece. I've never really interviewed a family member before, but Taylor was on campus when this happened, heard the gunshots, and so I found out she was here. So that's kind of terrifying when you have a family member here. But Taylor, tell me, what did you tell everybody? What did you hear? You know what I mean? What did you hear, and then what happened?
Yeah, my friend and I got there pretty late, and so when we arrived, we were right in the building behind him, and we just heard a gunshot, and everyone just started screaming. It was really chaotic, and we just ended up turning and running. There was just crowds of people screaming, and then just like shooter, shooter, gun, and then we ended up getting outside, but it was chaotic for a really long time, really scary.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. Like, what do you do when you hear that gun shots?
Yeah.
You freak out.
I was kind of like in disbelief for a second, and when everyone was running, and then yeah, I just started booking it. My friend threw her drink, and we just got out of there like as fast as we could. But
This is always something that happens somewhere else.
yeah, no, it's odd to be a part of something like this. It's horrible, of course, and really sad for him and his family. But yeah, it was really scary. I'm glad everyone got out okay.
Taylor, I'm happy you're doing okay. Now we met up and that you're doing well.
Okay.
Thanks, Taylor.
Thank
Didn't
you
mean to put
so
you on
much.
the spot.
No, you're
Thanks,
good.
Taylor.
Thank you.
You said you saw this happen?
Yeah,
Explain to me what you saw.
so I was in the front row and I was preparing to ask Charlie a question because I film a lot of videos out here in Utah, and it was gonna be more lighthearted. And I was just watching him speak with somebody that he was debating with, and then I just heard a shot, ring out, and I was watching Charlie the entire time. And then his left neck, I saw a bunch of, just a lot of blood just squirting out. I haven't seen that before.
And what was your thought as you stand there and you witness this? Did it take you a second to process it, or did you immediately know what was going on?
At first, I couldn't believe it at first. Like I said, I haven't seen this before, so at first I was like, there's no way this is real. And then everyone is just getting down, everyone's piling onto each other. People are running out, trying to get out of the way, of course. Thank goodness shots weren't fired onto the students. But everyone, of course, there was a lot of fear that just arose out of left field.
And then, what was the immediate reaction? Were people trying to help each other? Was it more of just everybody started panicking and trying to get out there? Kind of describe the scene with what people were doing.
It was mostly panic, people just like trying to run out, get out of the way, At first everyone was just piling onto each other, then people started to like run out, run around the barricades, like hide around cars and stuff, and then people started to just leave. So I just hopped in a car with a couple fellas I met, and thankfully they just drove me out, dropped me off somewhere, and we were good.
Now, just describe where it was, because I saw a video.
All right, you guys. Thank you for the live, man. Thank you for the support. Definitely gonna be back. Me with another live stream. Please share, subscribe, hit the like button, and I want to just thank y'all for your support. Really, you guys been a big support. I'm gonna have to close out this live, man. Like again, thank you guys once again for your support. So we're going to end this live. Be back in a little bit. Till then, we out.